Hello and welcome to the Gain Line. It's not too long until kickoff at Murrayfield. Our man Matt Southcombe is there right now, where I'm led to believe it's a little cold.
Yeah, it's not warm, man. It's not warm. The temperatures here in Edinburgh have not risen above zero all day, and not going to. The wind chill as well. It's about -6, I think, at the moment. I've got my layers on, and I've got my hand warmers and my coffee flask, so I'm all good. I do feel sorry for the wingers and the fullbacks today. They're going to want to be getting their hands on the ball as quick as they can, I think, because otherwise they're going to get very, very cold.
Probably not going to be sort of the day for free flowing wide rugby, is it? It's going to be a typical maybe Murrayfield game.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment. I'll just spin you around to show you the warm-ups. Look, I think if you think about where Wales are going to get hurt today, it does all start and finish with Finn Russell in many ways, but the Scottish pack is no joke anymore. There are serious operators up front. There's not much going on the Scottish side, so I'll keep showing you Wales. But yeah, I mean, losing Jamie Ritchie is a big loss for them because he is an absolute menace at the breakdown. He's the kind of player that oppositions hate to play against. Good line-out operator and just all-round good player. But when Scotland came to Parc y Scarlets back in October, they got the upper hand on Wales up front. The Welsh scrum was a disaster. The line-out was poor. Now, Wales seem to have sort of salvaged their their scrum a little bit against Ireland. You've got a good front five there, lots of weight in Wyn Jones, Ken Owens, Thomas Francis, Adam Beard and Alan Wyn Jones. So you'd expect them to be okay again there at the scrum. There's too much experience in that front five to have problems at the scrum, I feel. But, I stand to be corrected on that. The real problems for Wales, of course, is the line-out, and we've talked about it all week. It's just a case of how much Wales have managed to resolve that issue. It is going to be a day for the tight forwards, but you do still want to see a bit of creativity. It was hammering down with snow about 20 minutes ago. I'm pleased to say that stopped. The undersoil heat in here is working overtime, I think, to keep the pitch playable. But I'm told the surface is fantastic, so there's no complaints there. So, there's no reason why we can't see a few tries out wide today.
Of course, the thing with the line-out has largely been that although winning ball has been a bit of an issue, when they have kept ball, I mean, last week they had good attacking efficiency on line-out ball, so you'd hope if they can just get that first part right, they could reap the rewards today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when Wales got into the groove against Ireland, they looked very good. I'm thinking about the first 15, 20 minutes, we saw Wales getting on the edge a little bit, which we didn't really see in the autumn. There was a bit of a slickness to their attack, and it was quite encouraging. Now, the line-out is going to be central to that because it did cost Wales time and time again. They get into good positions, lose the ball. You overthrow a line out on your own 22 Ireland score. So, it does all really revolve around that part of the game for Wales today. And that's where we're going to be looking to see some form of improvement. But like you said, Ben, when that ball was clean and it was secure and it was on a plate for the scrum halves, Wales actually looked pretty good in attack, as good as they've looked probably in 12 months. So, so much is going to revolve around that set piece today because it's where Scotland really did Wales a couple of months ago. And of course the breakdown as well.
Of course, if we remind ourselves of the starting 15 today, I guess along with maybe Aaron Wainwright in the back row, I suppose the other area that's just a little bit up in the air heading into this one is midfield. Nick Tompkins and Owen Watkins starting together, obviously completely different to the centre partnership that ran out last weekend in Cardiff. You've got Willis Halaholo also on the bench, set for his debut. How those three, and particularly the two men starting, go today could go a long way to Wales' success.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a big opportunity for the two of them for different reasons. Nick Tompkins, for me, hasn't looked the same player since the first lockdown ended. A fair bit was made before that France game in the autumn that Nick Tompkins had put on a bit of weight and he was under orders to do so from the Wales management. But since he came back from that, never really looked like the same player. So it's a big opportunity for him today. And and it's going to be it's a good chance for him to make a statement. Now Wales need him to be good. They can't afford for Tompkins not to have a good game today, and pretty much same goes for Watkin. I think he's been a bit harshly overlooked at times in the build-up to this one. He's in good form for the Ospreys. Has got about 25 caps for Wales now, so he's not an inexperienced guy. I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest, to see them with Tompkins at 12 and Watkin at 13. I thought perhaps Watkins' physicality might be required a bit further in field, perhaps getting down Finn Russell's channel a little bit and giving him something to think about early on. But as you said, with Halaholo coming off the bench as well, potentially quite an exciting one because, there's a lot of unknown about Willis Halaholo, particularly at this level. He's a tricky customer, incredible footwork, and we'll ask different questions to the other guys already starting as well. So it's a nice little ace to have up your sleeve, really, if you're Wayne Pivac. But given his experience, I'd want Wales to be Salaholo is going to be thrown into the mix. But I suppose if things are going wrong, there's the ball, Willis, just do your thing and see what happens. Potential for either, there's a lot of potential for things to go well for Wales today, but they have to really, and those three guys have to play well if they're going to get a victory here.
I think we were starting to just lose you a little bit there, Matt. I think that's the cold potentially get into the Wi-Fi up at Murrayfield. So I guess we'll probably finish with just one more question as we see the sort of both teams heading back into the sheds for a little bit of much needed warmth before kickoff. I guess we've thought a lot about what Scotland are going to bring this weekend. Obviously, they're coming off the back of a very impressive victory last weekend. How do you see them testing Wales, and how do you see Wales sort of overcoming that?
Yeah, I think for me, I've said it all week that it's very difficult for teams to reach the same sort of levels emotionally after big wins. It's one of the most difficult things in professional sport. You speak to any professional or ex-professional, they'll tell you the same thing. So I think what we'll find out today is if Scotland are genuine. And what I mean by that is, we've seen in the last few years Scotland produce good results and good performances on a one-off. But how often have they backed it up? You don't see them tending to go on runs of impressive victories. That's why I would be reluctant to speak about them as contenders for this championship because, we've seen them beat the likes of England before, but what happens next? So I think if you're a Welsh fan, you can take a bit of heart from that because they've not shown much in the past that they're capable of rediscovering and backing up and rediscovering that form week in, week out. But they're back at home. Hamish Watson's going to play a huge part in this game, particularly if Scotland are to win, because Wales have shown that they can be vulnerable at the breakdown. So look out for that. But if they can keep Watson quiet and they can get into Finn Russell, you'd be quite comfortable backing Wales to get a victory today. But those are big, big ifs. And it's not going to be an easy task for Wales today.
And one final question before you go. I'm not sure you ever committed your prediction to print. I think you managed to escape that little gauntlet of fire with the drive to Edinburgh yesterday. So how do you see this game going?
Yeah, well, I like Wales when they start winning. I think they are a really good momentum side. There's a lot of adversity this week as well with all the injuries, and the Josh Adams situation has been well documented. So I think in my prediction privately, I went for Wales by a couple of points. But there are a lot of caveats to that. All the players that have come in, as we've said, that are not first choice have got to play well. And Finn Russell needs to have an off day, simple as.
Well, there we go then. I'll let you get away and probably see if you can steal an extra few layers before kickoff. There's only 15 minutes now until kickoff. And of course, you can follow all the action from Murrayfield on Wales Online.